you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. With Tony Marinaro.
55 seconds left in the penalty, a minute and 27 seconds left in regulation time. Boston 4, Montreal 3. Lafleur coming out rather gingerly on the right side. He gives it into Lemaire, back to LaFleur. Oh!
The sickest Montreal Canadiens podcast.
You're in the ball!
Sports entertainment like no other.
Rejoint, on lui fait perdre la rondelle, une passe devant. Et c'est le dégagement et ce sera la victoire des Canadiens. Coupe Stanley pour les Canadiens. Le 23e de l'histoire.
You found the dogs! John, you found the dogs! He found the dogs!
And all together, they worked a young team to the top. And now, a 24th Stanley Cup banner will hang from the rafters of the famous Forum in Montreal. The Canadiens win the Stanley Cup.
Brought to you by Energy Transportation Group. Driven to be different. La Vida Tibi. Embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination. It's gonna be sick.
The Montreal Canadiens season is over. I'm talking about their playoffs. They have been eliminated, losing tonight in Washington by a score of 4-1 to the Washington Capitals. Emil Heineman, your only goal scorer on the night. But once again, we're going to talk about the experience gained in these playoffs. And I think this was a learning experience for a lot of players, the coaches, the staff, and a lot of questions that probably were answered in this series. And if they haven't been, we're going to try and answer them tonight because I have an amazing panel. It is the Sick Podcast, and I'll talk to you about my guests in just a second. Brought to you in part by Energy Transportation Group, a leading full-service logistics provider serving all of North America, driven to be different. Once again, a top fleet employer in Canada per Forbes. Also brought to you in part by Playground. If you're looking for the ultimate entertainment destination, Playground is your ticket to nonstop thrills. Experience heart-pumping gaming action and a world-class poker experience. Playground is the 2025 winner of Fan Choice Best Poker Room at the Global Poker Awards. Indulge your taste buds at their incredible restaurants, then let loose with live music, electrifying DJs. Enjoy unmatched customer service just minutes from downtown Montreal, right across the Mercier Bridge. Why settle for ordinary when you can have extraordinary at Playground? And see that fridge behind me? That's Bittt Tibi. They launched their new Ultra Lager. It's a refreshing, thirst-quenching beer, perfect for the playoffs, and with only 90 calories, 2 grams of carbs, 4% ABV per can, available in a pack of 6 and 12 in grocery stores all around the province of Quebec. Ultra light and ultra refreshing. Without further ado, let me bring in the first guest on this night. I worked radio with him for the longest time, English sports radio. And of course, he is the host of the Raw Knuckles podcast on the Sick Media Network. Chris Knuckles, Nilan. Chris, how are you?
I'm good, Tony. What's happening, buddy? Good to see you.
Well, it's always disappointing, let's be honest, because, the longer the Canadian season goes, the longer we get to talk about the Montreal Canadiens, and the fan base is, pretty excited about seeing them. We all saw the images, of course, what was the fan jam and outside the Bell Center for the couple of games in Montreal. Chris, we haven't had that feeling since 2021. It didn't last very long, but while it did, it was a lot of fun, huh?
Well, yeah, it was. Listen, a lot of memories came back to me tonight when I saw the guys after the game getting in line, talking to David Savard. His last game, he was in tears. And just thinking about him now transitioning out of the game and where he's going to go in his life, right?
Yeah.
And then, that human side of it. And it brought back memories of losing. I was on the ice when we lost to Quebec that game as Stastny scored in overtime. And,
I remember that.
Talk about going from, up here to down there in no time. So, but honestly, I'm so proud of this group. Again, I didn't think they're going to make the playoffs. If anybody did this year, well, then they're a genius. They battled back. One thing I'm really proud of this group about is they've never once quit during this series. Remember, we talked about them earlier in the year against Pittsburgh when they folded up the tent and Pittsburgh just picked them apart. They just quit. And, I was disgusted when I saw that. Man, listen, I know they're a young group, but, to allow that to happen, it just didn't look good. And then, boy, they went on these spurts here and there. But you know what? In the end, like you said, players are going to learn. staff, everybody. And I'm sure management's looking, saying, you know what, we were overmatched physically. We're a small team. We got a good core of talent, but it goes back to defensive zone coverage again, with this team. And listen, you're never going to be 100%. I get that. But boy, once there's a breakdown, they get overmatched physically. They always end up in an odd man situation. And a lot of times some players won't leave the guy they're with to try and defend against the guy that just got beat. And we saw, how many times did you see a guy alone in front of the net with the puck during the series? You did. And that's a direct result of that. So, but listen, I'm so proud of the whole group, what they did. They never quit. They represented the organization the way it should be. Pride, respect. I think it was awesome.
All right. Without on that note, let's bring in Pierre McGuire. It's time for the McGuire Report.
The McGuire Report. Presented by Vago Italian.
Restaurant Vago opened 23 years. Tommaso, the most popular man in Westmount, in the front of the house. Angelo, his partner, in the kitchen. And they've been open 23 years. There's not a lot of restaurants that can say that they're open that long. And when you're open that long, it's because basically everything comes together. You have very good pricing. You got very good service. You got very good food. That's what they have at Restaurant Vago Italien. Private dining rooms for any occasion, birthdays, engagements, corporate meetings. Plenty of free parking after 6, open Monday to Saturday evenings, and lunch Tuesday to Friday. Fresh quality ingredients, old world Italian classics, and new Italian. It is Restaurant Vago on Green Avenue, corner of the Maisonneuve in Westmount. For reservations, call 514-846-1414. Pierre, Chris was just talking about seeing the images at the end, all the teammates, everyone going up to David Savard. You also saw a lot of respect, of course, shown by the Washington Capitals players, who were also very aware that this was David Savard's last game in the National Hockey League. Pierre, he had himself a really nice career.
Oh, my gosh. I remember watching him play for Moncton in the Quebec Major Junior League. He was Defenseman of the Year in the Canadian Hockey League. I remember watching him be part of a team in Columbus that beat the Tampa Bay Lightning in a sweep. I remember him winning the Stanley Cups in Tampa. I mean, I loved what Chris said about it, because it's the emotion of a guy who's had a spectacular career, and now his life changes. He'll have fond memories. His bank account will be full. He'll live an amazing life, but he will never live the same kind of life as he had when he was in the National Hockey League. I can tell you that right now, and I think Chris would agree with that. It's a way different lifestyle.
Yep.
All that being said, Tony, I'm also going to be with Chris on this one too. I didn't pick the team to be in the playoffs. I couldn't be more proud of them, and the future is amazingly bright for the Montreal Canadiens.
They they battled. You have to give it to them. At one point, they're down 3-0, and everyone's thinking, all right, okay, you know what? They're probably going to lose 5, 6, 7-0, whatever it is. But they came out really strong in the third period, and they said, you know what? If we're going to go down, we're not going to go down without a fight. There's one thing that bothered me about tonight, and it's just, and I'll get to that later. I don't want to come out right away with it because
come on, hammer them, Tony, hammer them. Go ahead.
So I don't like seeing Xhekaj playing like this. I really don't. And you know what? In the end, they might be right. But here's a guy who just he looks like he's scared to take a penalty. He's scared to do anything. It looks like they took the life away from him, and he just can't play the way he wants to play. Pierre, I could be so wrong on this. Really, I can. But I've been thinking about this for a couple of days. I'm going to bring up a couple of names that you guys knew really well. All right. One is Dave Manson, and the other one is Brian Marchment. Now, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but these guys played the same way, I think, from the minute they got into the league to their last minute in the league. I don't think they changed the way they played. Once again, if I'm wrong, please tell me I'm wrong, but they were crazy at times. They used their stick and got suspended at times. They stuck out their knee and got suspended at times. But they were dangerous, and they were feared. And guys always knew where they were everywhere on the ice because they were afraid of them. And I find that Arber Xhekaj had this element of craziness and this element of danger and this element of nastiness, and it's gone. And I'm not saying that if he would have had a fight tonight, it would have made me feel better, but the Washington Capitals imposed their physicality on the Montreal Canadiens all series long, some with hits that were borderline. And I just felt that there was not much pushback from the Canadiens in that regard. Pierre?
No, there wasn't. I had the privilege of coaching the late Brian Marchment. I helped trade for him as well. And, I watched and coached against Dave Manson, and I know Chris played against him. I said this at the beginning, and I'm not saying it's because Chris is on. I think the Montreal Canadiens should have brought Chris Nilan in to work with Arber Xhekaj. And Chris knows I told him that. You've
been saying that from the beginning. You're right. You're right.
I have been saying this. It's a very difficult job. It's not easy to do. And when you're a defenseman, and I'll defer to Chris on this, it's a way different deal than if you're a winger. It's a way different deal to do that job. But you need to know how to do it. Chris did it unbelievably well. I'll cede the floor to Chris.
Yeah, well, I tend to agree that I've seen a different player in Arber. Listen, he gets sent down, he come back up. Next thing, he's out 10 games before the playoffs come. They get pushed around first 2 games, and they bring him in. Now, I liken it to prohibition back in 1920 to 1933 in the U.S., right? Prohibition. You can't drink anymore. Well, you can't do this anymore, Arber. You got to really watch yourself. And when you take that bite out of that player, boy, and then you sit him out, and he's in his head. And I don't care how much you talk to him when he's out. It's so very difficult. And then you get thrown into the fire, especially a young kid with not a lot of experience, right, that way. And you second guess, should I, shouldn't I? I'm going to chirp a couple guys in the warm-up, and that's great. But you got to make guys pay in a game. And if you can't do that, if your hands are tied, whether they've been, tied up by the coach a little bit, but tied up by your own hesitation because you're scared to take that penalty. So, yeah, it's a difficult one. I feel bad for him in that respect. But, I just hope they can come around on this guy and get something out of him because he has too many tools and to be left aside. Listen, look at the defense. I get it, the league now. It's fast, it's this, and we need the defenseman can fly. But when the Canadiens were in the Stanley Cup final last, you remember their defense they had? The size of them?
Yeah, Weber, Sherrod,
Weber.
Tree were the top 4, yeah.
Edmondson, all of them, right? They had horses back there. You couldn't get near the net. And again, I just hope for Arber because you need guys like that in the future, especially for this young team. You're going to need guys during the season for a guy like Demidov. They're going after him next year. It's going to be welcome to the NHL next year for that kid. And you're going to need somebody around that can ride shotgun and also defend in their own end. I think Arber if they work with him and help him, he can get it. Listen, last thing I'm going to say. Remember Jacques Lemaire came to me once. And he was good. He would take me off the ice sometimes in situations, right?
Mm-hmm.
They throw a guy out. We were at home. He'd say, "Oh, pull me off," and I'd be pissed, right? And he came to me once in New York. I fought Barry Beck. He hit me with a cast, cut me, and he came to me after the game and he said, "Listen, you fight too much. You gotta slow down. Slow down, Chris. You get lots of room. You get so much more room than other guys." And I'm like, yeah, sure. That'll be the day I'm going to slow down because if I do, I'll be out of here. Next game I fought again. I fought twice, actually. So it's like, and he was okay with it. He understood it. And I had a talk with him, but it's really hard when you handcuff a guy like that. It doesn't work.
So now I want to say this. I think Marty St. Louis is a bright young coach. I'm proud of the way he coached this team this year. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't always easy. That's what probably ends up making it more rewarding in the end. He took quite a bit of heat at the end of October and for most of November. There's not too many people thought this team was going to make the playoffs. There's not too many people that thought he could have turned the defensive zone coverage around. There's not too many people who would have thought that there would have been so many Montreal Canadiens players that would have had the best season of their careers. They all did it under Marty St. Louis. Did he make mistakes? Yes, he made mistakes. It's only normal. The way young players make mistakes, young coaches are going to make mistakes. old players make mistakes and older coaches make mistakes. I think the future is bright for Marty. I think he's going to become, at one point, and I really believe this, one of the best coaches in the game. Already this year, he was up for Coach of the Year, and he's a nominee, and I think Spencer Carberry is going to win it. I think he deserves to win it. I think Spencer Carberry coached a great series. I also think he had more horses than Marty St. Louis had. I think there's a lot of things that you got to like about Marty St. Louis. I just don't think that the way Arber Xhekaj sees hockey, I don't think Marty St. Louis sees the same kind of hockey. And then I wonder how it's going to work out here. And then there's so much more to talk about than Arber Xhekaj. Quite frankly, it's probably the only thing that I didn't like tonight or the rest of the series, seeing that Xhekaj is a very good fighter. He's not a very good hitter. He's average. I mean, he goes out, he wants to hit guys, but it seems like he's just I don't know. It's been sucked out of him, I think, and it's just probably, once again, the coach and him don't see hockey the same way. And that's all I want to say on that, Pierre, because there's so many more positive things to talk about. But please, if you want to add to what I said, please go ahead.
Yeah, there's going to be an end of the year debrief between the management and the coaches and the players. There always is. And you're going to find out some guys appreciate the way the team was coached. Other people will question some of the decisions that were made. It happens with every team. Whether you win the Stanley Cup or you lose in the first round or you don't make the playoffs, there's an end of the year debrief. And you find out what they liked, what they didn't like, and what needs to be better. One of the things that's going to have to be better, and I'm going to take another page out of Chris Niles' book, Demidov's a real good player. He's going to be a target next year. Lane Hudson was a target this year, the second half of the year. He's going to be a bigger target next year. Nick Suzuki was a big target the second half of the year. He'll be a bigger target next year. And Cole Caulfield, he'll keep getting lit up like Ovechkin did to him. If you don't have a nuclear deterrent on that team next year, you're going to have body bags around the dressing room. I'm telling you right now.
A buddy of mine said to me before the game started, the Canadiens are down 3-1. The Washington Capitals have regained momentum. They beat the Canadiens on their home ice. They scored 5. Wilson laid out Carrier. Ovechkin laid out Evans. Canadiens didn't score a goal 5-on-5. Washington's going back into their building. Someone's got to fight Wilson right away. And I'm not saying that Wilson would have done it. It's just a buddy of mine said that to me. You know what? You get it out of the way right away. And if he wants to go, he goes. And if he doesn't want to go, if you got to take a penalty, it's easy for him to say he's not coaching the team, right? But I thought it was an interesting opinion. I did.
Listen, Tom Wilson's a great player. I love him, right?
Yeah.
What I don't love about him, he's an old school player, okay? And when you get challenged and you play the game and go to the bench, and that doesn't cut it with me. I get it. It's not back in the 80s. I get that. But when a guy does that, it just, it pisses your team off. It pisses the guy off and wants to fight him. But to me, that's just chicken shit for me. I saw him do it with Ryan Reeves when Reeves was in Vegas. Reeves challenged him. Yeah, I don't have to fight you. Big tough guy. Be the tough. You want to play tough, and you get challenged. I think it's chicken shit. If a guy challenges you, drop your gloves and go home. And that's how the league has changed, though. You got guys that'll do that.
Here's one thing I do want to say.
Claude Lemieux, he gets a pass because he was just Claude Lemieux was Claude Lemieux.
Yeah.
But Wilson, come on. The kid, he's a tough guy, and he plays the game that way. He plays it on the edge. We know he's played dirty. He's taken a lot of cheap shots over his career. He got suspended how many times? And when you get challenged, you don't fight. It's chicken shit.
One of the things that I think could have swung this, and it's just, again, it's just a small part of the game. It's about making adjustments about who you're going to target. So one of the players that was really elevating in this game was Brandon Duhaime. In this series, Brandon Duhaime was a guy that was elevating. Chris knows because we think a lot alike. That guy would have had a target right on his back, and that's where the guy Arber Xhekaj should have fought. Because Brandon Duhaime wants to prove to everybody he's the new sheriff in town in Washington. It's not Tom Wilson. It's Brandon Duhaime. And he would have been more than happy to oblige Arber. And I think Arber could take him. Okay? And that can change a lot of stuff.
Yeah, but once again, it just It just looked like Arber was like, oh, I'm going to take a penalty, or he doesn't want me to do this. I don't know. Anyway, we'll find out more over the next little while. But I just look, Arber Xhekaj has got one more year left on his contract with the Montreal Canadiens, and I expect to see him there next year. I just wonder how effective he's going to be if he's not going to play the kind of game that he wants to play. But I said what I had to say on that note. On another note, I mean, once again, for all of you who are watching live on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, I thought the Canadiens really battled. I thought they really battled. I mean, at the end of the day, they lost to a bigger, stronger, more experienced, deeper team who, by the way, whose goalie came up really big. I thought Logan Thompson was excellent in the series. And guys, I got to tell you something. There's one area where I thought the Canadiens can pull this off, was that I believe that in the last 20 games or so, the Washington Capitals had got away from the kind of hockey that they were playing for the first 52 or 60 games before that, because they were trying to help Ovechkin beat the record. And that was, Stephen Wino works for the Associated Press, who covers the Washington Capitals. He had the same opinion as me on that one. And by the way, we're not the only ones. There's a lot of people. And I just wondered if they can go back to playing the same hockey they did in the first 60 games of the season. And clearly they showed us that they can. And think about this team and how many players their previous organizations either gave up on or it just didn't work out. And they all went to Washington, and they're all playing the best hockey of their careers. I think that's coaching. Pierre, Spencer Carberry?
It's coaching, it's leadership. Carlson and Ovechkin are real good leaders. I don't think John Carlson gets nearly enough credit. I watched him break into the league. He's an outstanding player. He's really one of the more underrated guys in the league. Ovechkin's a tremendous leader. Nick Dowd is 35 years of age. Nobody even knows. I've been calling him the best fourth center in the league for the last 3 years. Nobody watches the Washington Capitals. Unless you're a fan of the Capitals, nobody watches them. So this is part of the deal. But you get good coaching and good leadership, it develops players. Chris knows that better than anybody.
Yeah. How about Strome? Like, come on. It is unbelievable. Strome in this series is incredible. Stepped up to the plate. And Dubois, a guy who, had his issues places. LA had his issues. They didn't want him. And then all of a sudden.
Pretty good players. He's playing with Connor McMichael and Tommy Wilson are pretty good players.
I know, right?
You're
like,
right.
And a big kid. Gets involved. He's out there. He made a great pass tonight on the goal. So, they get a big, strong team, fast team, and the back end again really good, especially in that for the life of me, I don't know how the hell that kid came back after the game when he left that game in Montreal, game 3. I'm like, this guy's done for the series. He couldn't even put his toe of his skate down on the ice. I'm like, he's gone. Lindgren's in. Now we really got a shot. Yeah. And then all of a sudden he's back on there. What the hell is that?
Guys, by the way, I'll give an update. The Florida Panthers have eliminated the Tampa Bay Lightning 4-1. Like, I'm not shocked by this, but I love the run that Tampa was on in the last couple of months of the season. And I honestly thought that if they were going to get by Florida, that they could have gone to the Stanley Cup final. But I guess I should have respected the defending champs a lot more than I did, guys, because Florida just ate up Tampa. 4-1. Wow.
Did they ever? But I'll tell you one thing right now, not having some of those players for Tampa, and in particular Brandon Hagel, it's a major loss for them. It's a huge loss. I'd rather have Brandon Hagel in my lineup than Aaron Ekblad. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a significant loss. Here's what happened in that. I watched every game in that series. Here's what happened, I think. Bobrovsky was just better than Vasilevsky. Not a little bit better. Like, he was a lot better.
Oh, yeah.
He was a lot better.
Crazy. I was just going to say that. Vasilevsky, he did not play the type of hockey he's played in the past. He did not.
No. And I really thought he was going to have a really good playoff. But anyway, Tampa, you wonder about their time. At one point, you go to so many Stanley Cup finals, you win a couple of cups, and you got to change things up. They tried, though. They brought in new players, and I expect them still to be very competitive next year. Anyway, let's get to the Montreal Canadiens. Let's go back to their lineup for tonight. All right, Suzuki with Slavkovsky and Caulfield, Dvorak with Gallagher and Anderson, Evans with Demidov and Newhook, Kapanen with Armia and Heineman. Matheson and Alex Carrier, who played, Gooley, Hudson, Xhekaj, Savard. Guys, Carrier, what a warrior, eh? What a warrior. Like tonight he played 23 minutes and 12 seconds. He had 4 block shots. He had a couple of shots. He had a couple of shot attempts blocked. He was an even on the night. What can we say that we haven't said already about Alex Carrier, Pierre?
He's got big guts, too. I can tell you one thing right now. Guys went after him, too. The Washington Capitol guys knew he was hurt, and they went right after him, and he stood right in there. He's been a tremendous shutdown guy. The record changed significantly after he came over from Nashville. I can't believe Nashville traded him, especially for Justin Barron, but they did. You got a tandem on the back end with Gooley and Hudson, could be a tandem for the next 10 to 12 years. I mean, Montreal's in real good shape. I'm with Chris on this. This team's going to be really good, and it's going to be good for a long time. I watched part of their American League team play tonight. Laval beat Cleveland tonight. Jacob Fowler's in goal. Sean Farrell gets 2 goals. Owen Beck gets a goal. Like, I'm telling you, Montreal's positioning themselves long-term to be really, really good.
Yeah. Nux, Patrick Laine wore a regular contact jersey yesterday at practice, but was ruled out today. Canadiens said he was still day-to-day. Your thoughts on how they did without Patrick Laine?
You know, they were fine. Listen, he's a great power play player. 5-on-5, he's ho-hum. And when you're playing the playoffs, you have a guy, and I know he tried to hit here and there. He's a big lumbering guy that he can't get there to hit. Even when he gets there, he's going to probably poke check. And he can load up on the offside when he's on the power play. But, you know, it's very frustrating to watch. And you have a coach, an organization here trying to set a precedent with their team and what they expect of them. And if you're going to let somebody, and maybe he's hurt and all that, I get that. But still, even if he's healthy, he's more just a special teams guy, power play guy. He 5-on-5, he struggles big time.
You know, the biggest glaring hole, and it's so apparent, they need a second center. They need an elite second center. And so I don't know who you have to dispatch to get an elite second center, but you're going to have to move somebody from your roster. And you're going to have to move more than that. So that's their shopping list. It's not a convoluted shopping list. They don't need 20 guys like they used to need. They need one real elite second center. If they get that guy, they could change the dynamic in the East significantly.
Pierre, I watched the Sick podcast, The Eye Test, with you, Jimmy Murphy, and Phil Bourque, a former Pittsburgh Penguin who you had a chance to coach in 91 and 92, won a couple of Stanley Cups with the Penguins. He did. So did you. And he said something to the effect of, after Mike Sullivan got fired, I've never asked myself, or I've never wondered more, if Sidney Crosby is going to finish his career with the Pittsburgh Penguins more so than right now. Pierre, someone, I would say, very, very close to Crosby mentioned to me a year ago, take a look at Sidney Crosby and see if something might happen there with the Canadiens. And I looked at him and like he was crazy. And obviously nothing did happen. And then a couple of months later, you know, he signs a 2-year contract extension with the Pittsburgh Penguins. And a lot of people at that point are saying, okay, he's going to retire a Penguin. If he's not going to retire a Penguin, if they tell him, you know, at one point he's going to move on, he's probably going to want to go play with his friend Nate the Great in Colorado. But we know that the Montreal Canadiens were his childhood team. The team that drafted his dad. Phil Bourque says what he says. I have to ask you, Pierre, do you think that Sidney Crosby will finish his career with the Pittsburgh Penguins?
I wish I could tell you that. The discussions I've had with arguably the best player in the history of the game, he thinks he's staying in Pittsburgh, but I don't know that. I don't know that for sure. What I do know is that they better get this coaching hire right if they want to keep him. They better get the right coach, because the relationship between Mike Sullivan and Sidney Crosby was amazingly tight. Amazingly tight.
He just said was the best coach you ever had.
And I'm not playing around here. I'm just telling you. And I did all their Stanley Cups. I did their cup in 09. I did their cup in 16. I did their cup in 17. And I'm very comfortable telling you this. In 09, it was Danny Bilesman. He just turned those guys loose because he came in for Michel Therrien. In 16 and 17, it was Mike Sullivan that came in, and Mike Sullivan had an assistant coach by the name of Rick Tocchet. And Rick Tocchet and Mike Sullivan were tighter than tight could be. And I'm not saying Rick Tocchet's going there, but they better get this coaching hire right in Pittsburgh, because if they don't, then I could see Crosby going somewhere else.
Even if they get it right, Pierre, he wants to make the playoffs in the final 2 years of his career. Does he not? Listen, I know.
Absolutely.
Well, how far away are they from making the playoffs?
The thing that I don't know how far they're, and I'll tell you why. They're in the Metro. The Metro is probably the weakest division in the National Hockey League. It's not a good division. And so you've got Washington at the top. Carolina is going to be transitioning. They're older. Philly's in a rebuild. Jersey, you don't know. They're hit and miss. Rangers, who knows? Islanders will be in a rebuild. They're in a funky – Columbus is coming up, but they're in a funky division. Just trust me on that. So I don't know how it's going to play out there, but he's going to start there. And if it's not going well, I'm sure at some point he'll talk to management.
Sick Podcast is brought to you in part by Fruiterie de Lard, a family-run business, a mainstay in the LaSalle community since 1995. Proud to continue offering the same fresh foods and flavors they have for the past 30 years at Fruiterie de Lard, from fresh fruits and produce delivered daily to an ever-expanding assortment of deli meats, cheeses, and sandwiches. You'll find personalized service. Tasso, his son, and staff with a smile, friendly faces that make you feel like family at Fruiterie de Lard, once again on Dollard Street in LaSalle. Also, Betway. Who do you have in the second round? Well, you can go all the way with Betway. Get a free bet up to $200 for first bet loses. Scan the QR code on the screen. Click on the link in the details section to create an account. Redeem your welcome offer. Offers only available for new customers. Terms and conditions apply. Offers not available in Ontario. Must be 18 years of age and older. Please play responsibly. Let's take a look at the score sheet, if we can. All right. Ovechkin opens the scoring on a power play, 9-12 in. Guys, Dylan Strome, offensive zone faceoff, wins the draw because Dvorak's stick snaps in half and breaks. It goes straight to Ovechkin. You would think that Josh Anderson probably should have stuck a little closer to him, but it goes straight to him. Pierre, I want to tell you that shot is stoppable, but then again, the guy scored over 900.
I don't know how stoppable it was. It was, about 35 feet from the net at 90 miles an hour plus? I don't know how stoppable that was.
Nux, how did you see it?
Listen, I just know when you're shorthanded, taking a defensive zone faceoff, don't play for the win, play for the 50-50 and get some help. Because if you lose it clean, and he was playing to win it clean, that's why his stick broke. If he plays the other guy's stick and tries to tie him up, puck in the feet, okay, everybody gets to adjust. But when you lose it clean like that, forget it. And it goes right to who? And we saw it go in the net. That poor goalie didn't have a chance. By the way, Dobesh, the guy who kept them in the game and gave him a chance.
I think he definitely did. Yeah,
I really did. I totally agree with that.
Yeah. The Chychrun goal, Pierre, the Canadian offensive.
13. Caulfield's cheating. He gets caught cheating. He's cheating on the wrong side of the puck.
And he knew it right after the play. You saw.
Yeah, I'm watching that and I'm going, okay. Hey, Chris Nyland's been there before. If you do that and Jacques Lemaire's coaching, you're not having a fun time when you get to the bench.
Wow.
He's cheating on the wrong side of the puck. It was pretty apparent.
Another power play goal, this time by Tom Wilson, guys, 16:59 into period number 2. That one there made it 3-0 for the Washington Capitals and made it a pretty tough hill to climb for the Canadiens thereafter. Once again, there's Wilson alone in front of the net. The puck goes out in front, and it's a bang-bang plays within a couple of feet of Dobesh. He puts it in the far corner. No chance for him. Once again, a couple of guys looking around saying, oh, you have him, I have him, you have him, I have him. He's all alone, Tom Wilson. Such a presence, guys. We have to say he's a guy like a lot of Canadiens fans want to pick on, but you saw the respect at the end of the game. Hockey, Yeah,
awesome player. No question. He's a great player. On that goal, too, you look at – they just overpowered the front of the net. They had so many bodies there. The confusion was crazy, and nobody could really match up physically against a guy like that, even if you're close to him. You got to take his stick because you're not going to be able to knock him on his ass. Anybody out that was out there actually killing the penalty. So they just overwhelmed the front of the net on that one. And, it's kind of like World War II, World War I, going over the
Yeah.
top, jumping in the other trench, baby.
Yeah, Pierre, the third period almost resembled, I think, game one, where the Washington Capitals had a 2-0 lead in game one, and with 10 minutes left, they kind of put their foot off the gas, saying, okay, you know what? We're just not going to do anything stupid here. We're not going to make any mistakes. Let's defend. They did the same thing, I thought, in the third period tonight, but the Canadiens pounced early, 2:40 in. Armia throws it at the net, right? And Heineman's there and redirects it. And you know what? Sometimes you just throw it at the net. You get a big body in front of the net. Heineman scores his first of the playoffs. The Canadiens get some life. They're down by a score of 3-1. Ultimately, it's Brandon Duhaime who scores his third goal of the series, an empty netter with 26 seconds left in regulation. But the Canadiens had their chances, though, eh? They had their chances in this hockey game. Caulfield had a chance in close. Nick Suzuki had a chance in close. Thompson was on. They were going high on Thompson. They were going low on Thompson. They were trying to pepper him. They outshot the Washington Capitals 14-8 in period number 3. You got to love the battle, right? If they would have lost this game 5-6-0, you would have said, geez, I can't believe it. They didn't show up for an elimination game. They fought hard.
Oh, I give them full marks. I think, again, Chris said it. I'm going to take some of his words, but the future's so bright for this group. How could you not be proud of them? The one thing I just want to touch on the Duhaime goal, Duhaime makes a shot block. McMichael gets it. He puts it up in the air, and watch Duhaime go. And watch the Canes guys trying to chase. That's a perfect picture of how this series set up from start to finish. Montreal was worn out at the end because they did put the extra effort in. Washington rolling 4 lines, they were just fresh. They were fresh as daisies.
Nux, your thoughts on Caulfield, Suzuki, and Slavkovsky, who it's a couple of games now. It was a couple of games in this series that they were -2 apiece in a big game, and they were -2 apiece again tonight. Did you make much of it, or?
Here's what I'll make of that. Fatigue. Like they get overused. They're They're on the power play. They're out there a lot in the power play. Then the regular shift, we need a goal. They're getting banged all the time. It knocks the shit out of you. A little Caulfield, he kept pushing Cole, but you could tell he was like pooped. He was pooped. Slaps a big guy.
Yeah.
He played in spurts, at times. That kid, again, we've talked about that before. Big men that do not skate night in and night out have troubles. And if that kid's skating, anticipating, getting on pucks, getting in the corner, going to the net, moving the puck, getting to the net, he's going to make things happen. But when he's not skating and he got the one hand on his stick and not taking the body, I get the old, nowadays you got to poke check, play the body.
Yeah.
I get that, but I also, big guys, come on, put the stick down and drive your shoulder through someone.
Pierre, he led every player in tonight's hockey game with 7 hits, though, Slavkovsky did.
No, he's competing.
Yeah.
He competed. Like I got no issues with him at all.
Me neither.
I think the one thing, though, you want to be a star player in the league, you got to be consistent every night. Can't choose to skate one night and choose not to skate the next. You got to skate every night, especially if you want to be on the first line. And he's going to get pushed now because Demidov's here. Patrick Laine wasn't a threat to Uri Slavkovsky.
No.
But Ivan Demidov is. He's a threat to him.
Couple of players I like tonight, guys. I like Matheson. Matheson played 22 minutes and 3 seconds. He was even on a night. He had 3 shots on goal. He had 3 shot attempts that were blocked. Yes, every now and then he may have overhandled, probably lost it on a couple of occasions, but I like Matheson tonight. I loved him on the penalty kill last game.
Yeah, it was unbelievable.
Yeah. I like Matheson. Lane Hudson finishes the night -2, but I liked Lane Hudson tonight. I really did.
He gives you everything he has, but Chris knows this. He was probably around 80% just because he's been getting slammed all over the ice. He's broken down, Tony. He's not nearly as quick.
Yeah.
You see him when you saw him regular season, when he got trapped on the board somewhere and they come out like Houdini.
Yes.
He's losing that Houdini in the playoffs, right? Because he is getting worn. They go after him. They finish every check on him. He doesn't give up.
No.
And he'll make the odd good play. He's gonna. But not as much as during the regular season because the physicality. It overwhelms you.
He played 27 minutes and 11 seconds tonight. He had 2 shots on goal. He had 6 shot attempts that were blocked. He had 2 missed shots. I thought he was really good for the Canadiens despite finishing -2 tonight. Suzuki was 13 out of 19 in the faceoff circle for 68%. Dvorak was 10 out of 16 for 63%. Unfortunately for him, the most important faceoff that he took, his stick broke and they lose it. And Ovechkin scores the power play goal the way he does. But, guys, they didn't have a second line all season. Like, how are you going to win a playoff series without a second line? They were asking Jake Evans to center the second line down the stretch in the last couple of games. Wrong chair.
It's not his thing. That's why we said they know what they need as an organization. The one other thing I want to say, every team has end of the year meetings with the players, and they say, you need to fix this, you need to do that. We want to see better for next year. Lane Hudson will do it. His shot needs to become a weapon, because if it does, you watch what that power play does next year. If his shot becomes as good as it should be or could be, that power play is going to be in the top 5 in the league.
I saw him rip one earlier this evening. You're right. His shot's nowhere near as effective as it should be, but it's getting better.
If he had the velocity of John Carlson, or if he had the velocity of, let's say, Charlie McAvoy, if he had the velocity of Cale Makar, even if he had the velocity of Quinn Hughes, it's a totally different game. I'll use Roman Josi. If he had the velocity of Roman Jossi's shot, Montreal's power play is going to be in the top 3 in the league. Forget top 5.
Yeah.
Just going over to get something here, guys. HKY Jersey is having their April mystery drop at 8 p.m. and we're had it. And this month's mystery jersey theme is the rookie class of the 2024-2025 NHL season for only $85 US. Guaranteed a random official NHL jersey in your size. And the big hitters this month are autographed Hudson's, Demidovs, Michkov, Smiths, Celebrinis, Dustin Wolf jerseys, among many more. Limited spots, every drop they have. To enter, all you have to do is reply with the size you want to a post. They'll go on their Twitter account, and the first 700 to reply get a spot. It's that simple. And if you're lucky to get a spot, they DM you a code to get into their site to pay. And so that's what the box looks like for HKY jerseys. And for those who want to know, you just open up the box. Some cards, a sticker of hockey jerseys, and wow, there it is. Yeah, that's a beauty, all right. Just open it up and show you. I think we're going to see a lot of these jerseys, guys, next year at the Bell Center. Ivan Demidov. So, by the way, when you pick up your hockey jerseys, sometimes you get a jersey like this, and sometimes you actually get a jersey that is autographed. So it's pretty cool. They got a great company going. They got a great site, HKY Jersey. Check them out on all social media. All right, it's now your opportunity to ask Pierre and ask Chris. I'm sure you have some questions. We can get to your questions, throw them out there on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And we can also open up the phone lines at 1-888-585-SICK, 1-888-585-7425. Anything you want to bring up in tonight's hockey game that we haven't talked about just yet, go ahead and do so. Guys, there was talk as to whether Oliver Kapanen should have been the 12th forward in the lineup for the Montreal Canadiens tonight. You know what? I thought he was okay. I didn't have a problem with Kapanen. Once again, a learning experience for him. We'll see whether or not he's on this team to start next season. Pierre, are there players that are on this team that you think we might not see next season?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, we already know one. David Savard won't be there.
Yeah.
You know, I obviously don't know about where Kirby Dach's going to be next year. I don't know what they're going to do with Newhook next year because he's not the answer in the second center position. He's not. So unless you want to play third line wing, I don't know what's going to happen with Christian Dvorak. I think there's going to be, some serious pressure in the goaltending situation. Not so much on Montembeault, but maybe on Dobish. Because I'm just telling you, Jacob Fowler's a real deal. Like, you guys will be blown away how good this guy is. I've watched him.
I talked to Ryan about him.
Yeah.
The Habs scout. Yeah. He's the one who grabbed him, and he's like, he is convinced of how good he is. And, I've seen him play at BC a bit, not as much as obviously they have, but yeah, he seems like the real deal. And, the Habs love their goalies. Right?
Tony, I think there's going to be numerous guys who are going to be off this team. I do. But they're not going to be the high profile guys.
Yeah. Let's go to Alex. Alex, are you there? Alex, thanks for calling the Habs post game. It's a Sick Podcast. Are you there?
Hey, I'm right here.
Go ahead. Your opportunity to ask Pierre and ask Chris.
Awesome. Hey, it's nice to finally talk to you guys. Pierre, I'm a big fan.
Thank you. Good to talk to you.
I really wanted to just ask a question really quick. It kind of goes off of what Tony was talking about earlier regarding Arber Xhekaj. With the incoming defense that we have who are playing Laval right now, like Mayu and Reinbacher, who I saw on Twitter people were talking about maybe he could possibly play tonight, but I don't know about that. I just had a quick question. So where does Arber Xhekaj stand with this incoming defense, given how Tony was saying earlier how his play is kind of not matching up with Marty St. Louis' style of hockey? Like, what does the future look like for Xhekaj, especially with these guys we got coming up?
Go for it, Chris.
Listen, I think it's a mystery. I couldn't tell you because I don't know what they're thinking with this kid, right? The way they used him. I kind of know what they're thinking, but, it doesn't look like they want him. I don't know. And if that's the case, could Arber be – we're talking about a 2C here, right, Pierre? Could he be part of a package of a lot of assets that this team has right now to move forward and try and get a second-line center somewhere? I don't know.
Absolutely he could. I think you're raising a great point. That being said, I'm going to go back to something Chris and I talked about before, Alex. If you don't have any nuclear deterrent in your lineup, and Montreal doesn't if they move him, and no disrespect meant to Josh Anderson, none at all. No, but he's not squirrely like Arber Xhekaj is. They're going to have a problem with their smaller guys. I'll tell you that next year in the regular season. They'll have a big problem.
I'm happy to hear that Max Lapierre is on the same page as us. He said earlier this evening on TVA Sports that the Canadiens turned Arber Xhekaj into a pony eating carrots. So Max not very happy with I want to say something, and I don't want it to come across the wrong way because I really have so much respect for David Savard's career. If you're wondering where Xhekaj stands with the Canadiens, he played 51 seconds less than David Savard, who had a hard time moving on the ice. Like, is that fair? Is that fair to say? Like, David Savard, it was laborious, guys. It was tough.
Yeah, and again, it was they played it out. They didn't win. Now it's time to assess and see what's going to happen here. You're looking at Mayu down there, Reinbacher, guys that could be up here next year. And like I said, they're looking for a 2C. Could Arber be in the mix? I'd hate to see it happen. I'm looking forward to seeing his brother up here. And I don't know if Marty could deal with one of them. I don't know if he'd be able to deal with two of them.
The brother's a real good fit for this team.
He's full-time player. He's going to be here. He'll be here, that kid.
Yeah, I agree.
I keep hearing that throughout this series, there was discussion within the group to have Florian play a game with the Canadiens. Yeah. Ultimately, it didn't happen, but the discussion took place.
I believe it, but I also know they want to go on a prolonged run in Laval. It's really important that happen.
Pierre, and I don't know how the discussion went and if one person wanted, the other didn't, or whatever, this, that. Let's say the GM really wanted. GMs are not supposed to interfere with the coach or his lineup, and they're supposed to make the coach his team, because the second they start telling the coach, you got to have this guy or who to play and this and that, the coach is probably done. So we know that's not the case, but have you been in situations where it was imposed by a management team to say, you got to play a player?
Yeah.
For trade purposes, or
sometimes it was we used to call it showcase cinema. So yeah, sometimes it was to show a player and put him in a good position so that the other team would think he's a real important player and maybe you get more for him. And one time we had a general manager that called down to the bench and said, I want that guy on the ice to fight that other guy. And I'm like, tell him I'm not doing that because that guy's going to get his ass kicked and I'm not doing that.
Or how about like, though, if the coaches wanted to put one player in the lineup and the GM wanted to put another player in the lineup, or the GM says, I'd rather you put this guy in the lineup, not even for showcasing purposes, because I think it gives you a better chance to win.
That happens.
That happens too?
That happens.
Yeah, I guess I know what happened with Ted Nolan, the poor bastard in Buffalo.
It happens, Tony.
Yeah.
That happens. It happens a lot in the league now. It really does.
All right, let's get back to the phone lines. We have Jerry. Hello, Jerry, you there?
Yes, sir.
I recognize the voice. It's Jerry from Longueuil. Jerry, go ahead. You're on with Pierre McGuire and Chris Nilan.
Hi, good evening, gentlemen. Chris, the last time we spoke is when you were with Tony at the other station, and I asked you if it was a good idea to go to the Garden with my Canadiens jersey on, and you said no. And
he didn't lie.
We put them on anyways. I went there with my two boys, and the Canadiens won. Galchenyuk scored in the shootout.
That was when, Jerry? How long ago was that?
Wow, that's about, 5-6 years ago. That's when all the tough guys were still there, the Charas and stuff.
Yeah, and Jerry just got out of the hospital yesterday, so he's calling us tonight. Pretty cool.
I escaped alive, barely, but it was quite an evening. I have a question for you gentlemen, and it's about Slav. I'm a big believer in him. I like the guy. I think I don't know why he gets a lot of tough love, or they don't seem to appreciate him, but I talked to Tony once. I said, he got 50 points at 19 years old. Now, the last guy to do this with the Canadiens was not Pacioretty or Suzuki or Caulfield or Koivu. It was Guy Lafleur. He's the last guy who got 50 points at 19. And he was a minus 19. This year, he started off slow. He gets 51 points, and he finished the year at +1, so he improved defensively. And I think he's a much above average passer. He has 32 assists, 30 last year. So he has some hockey sense. He can find an open guy to give him the puck. He did it tonight in the first period. He hit Suzuki in the slot. But I don't know why, but people have this notion that he has to be the next Brady Tkachuk. And I find that a bit weird because maybe it's not in his DNA, but he can still be physical. And I think about one of the greatest lines of all time. You had Mike Bossy, who was a scorer, Trottier, who was a playmaker and also a scorer. Who was the other guy on the right wing?
Clark Gillies.
Clark Gillies, who's pretty much the same size as Slavkowski, and he was a tough guy, but he wasn't much of a fighter. He wasn't.
Oh yeah, he could fight.
Yes, he was.
I'm going to tell you right now, Jerry. In that era, Clark Gillies was probably the toughest guy in the NHL.
Yeah, Clark Gillies was not a shrinking violet, Jerry.
No, he could fight. Ask Ed Hospital when he broke his jaw, his cheekbone, and knocked 2 teeth out.
Yeah.
Yeah, even Bob Gainey but he played physical without being necessarily, a goon or whatever. So I think if we let, Slavkowski play, because next year, even if Demidov goes ahead of him, if you give him Jake Evans as a centerman, his production is really going to go down. We know that to be a fact.
Here's the deal. You got nothing to worry about with him. He's going to be all right. Here's the deal. When people talk about him in a way that you're saying you think he's treated unfairly at times, the only time he gets in trouble is when he doesn't skate. And during the season, if you're watching the games and you see the games he doesn't skate, it's frustrating. He's a young kid. He shouldn't be at that point in his career. When you stop skating? When you're 34. When you're a young kid, you better have your goddamn legs moving, or you might as well be out there just like Patrick Laine 5-on-5, poke checking and doing the waltz. No,
I agree with Chris. Chris is spot on. What I'd do with this guy is I'd show him tapes of Jaromir Jagr. It's the best comparable for him. And I can tell you, I coach the guy. You don't really have to coach Jagr. You just have to make sure the gas tank's full. if he could be half as good as Jagr, he'd be unbelievable.
Yeah, well, you know, it's sort of the deer in the headlights sometimes with him. I think because he's a kid and he's learning, and
he'll be fine.
We're patient with him. I like to see him at 25. He's going to be something else.
Yep.
Oh, he'll be. I agree. I agree with you.
Thank you, Jerry, for the phone call.
Thanks, Jerry. Feel better. Thanks, Jerry.
All right. Pierre is fine. When I said he got out of the hospital yesterday, it's because he said he went to Boston with his Canadiens jersey on 6 years ago. So I joked, and he just got out of the hospital yesterday. There you go.
I'll take the hook out.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I thought he did. I was going to say, what happened?
Get the hook out. Damn you, Tony.
I was going to say, what, you have an angioplasty, Jerry?
He says, Chris, you told me not to go to Boston with my jersey on in the arena, but I went anyway. When was that, Jerry? 6 years ago. And I go, he just got out of the hospital yesterday, so he's giving us a call. All right, Jacob.
Listen, I always, my son goes in there to see the Habs play. I said, Chris, don't wear a goddamn Canadiens hat, please. You know, just don't wear it, because some drunk asshole is going to say something, and then, you know, you're going to have a problem. And that's what happens, you know. There's always some. I'll never forget the story of the poor kid, the Canadian fan. After the Bruins game, the kid was walking down the street. He had glasses on, Habs fan, and some punk with a Bruins jersey, and not from Boston, I guarantee you. He was from out of town, and we found out afterwards he was from out of town. He came into town, got all drunk, saw the kid, started spitting on him, said, yeah, you Frenchie, this and that. Kid said, hey, it's just a game, relax. Kid sucked at him, broke the glasses. The glass went as I end up in Mass General Hospital, concussion, everything.
That's terrible.
Yeah, it's terrible. So believe me, I know the assholes that run around there. Believe me.
We were there for a game 7 once upon a time, Nux. I know you remember this, but they had to move Mr. Subban to another seat because he was getting heckled pretty good. And the security guard came up to Chris and said, yeah, no, it was Mr. Subban that said, yeah, they're moving me. They got to change my seat. I'm getting heckled. And Chris is like, who's giving you a hard time? Chris was there just in case he needed help. All right, Jacob. Jacob, you're on with Pierre McGuire and Chris Nilan. What's on your mind, Jacob? Canadiens lose by a score of 4-1. The last goal coming in an empty net. David Savard's last game in the National Hockey League. He will be retiring. Jacob?
Yep. Well, it's always tough when the season comes to an end, especially the way that this season was played. It was such a fun season, to be honest, especially with the way it started and with what we came to know out of it at the end. But there's no way you can look at this series and be disappointed when you look at the way each game got played. The fact that this is, like I said, the youngest team. I think it's like the youngest team in NHL history to ever make the playoffs. The fact that they're playing against a team that finished first place in the Eastern Conference. The fact that basically every game was a game that they could have won. Objectively, you know, they probably could have won out of the first 5 games. They probably could have won 3 of them. I don't think it's that hot a take to say, because, you know, all their games were close with a bit more putt luck.
Can I add something though?
Yep.
All the games were close, and the Canadiens could have had another win or two, but I think the final result in the end was fair, and I think the Washington Capitals deserve to win this series in 5. Pierre and Chris?
Well, they were the better team, but I don't.
I think Washington was a better team, and I think they should have won in 5 or 6.
Spencer Carberry took to the microphone, guys, and said, before I answer any questions, I just want to salute the superb career that David Savard had.
Yeah,
pretty cool,
good.
Huh?
It's really good. But you know what that is? I'll tell you, and Chris will know this too. That's an organization paying attention to every little detail.
Yeah.
So when you're a coach of a team, you're thinking about your team, and your team. That's what you're doing. And then somebody's going to say, don't forget to mention this, because you do get reminded. We used to have debriefs after every game before we talked to the media. Scotty would do it, and that's how we would do it. And you always want to make sure you have every little detail so nothing's missed.
He's a sharp guy too, right?
That's a real sharp guy.
Yeah,
but I guarantee he was reminded before he went up there.
Yeah, he's a sharp guy, and you know he's going to talk well about the Habs, and you know, he got his shit together.
Yep.
Marty St. Louis says it was a privilege. It's a privilege for me to coach the Montreal Canadiens, and he said it was an honor to coach David Savard. Marty St. Louis added, the pain that you feel right now is normal, but I think it's not even close to what's coming. The joy that's coming. He talks about. Spencer Carberry once again congratulated David Savard and said that guy ate so many one-timers from Ovi. Shares a note on the Canadiens. To me, that wasn't the 4-1 series. They pushed us in every single one of those games. Marty St. Louis, our young guys would never be where they are now without David Savard. St. Louis also added, we can walk out of here with our heads held high. We didn't leave any stone unturned. Alex Carrier played through a terrible ankle injury, guys. Everyone was dealing with something. Brendan Gallagher played with a broken rib. Josh Anderson had multiple injuries since December. Tweets Eric Engels, who's our contributor, of course, from Sportsnet. So Tom Wilson added, I have a lot of respect for the Canadiens. It's a team of warriors, and they have a brilliant future ahead of them. All right. There you have it.
Chicken shit.
I know you're joking.
Yeah, shut up.
He's not scared of anybody.
Yeah.
He's a tough boy.
You know what? Listen, you get challenged. I don't care. Like I said, you're a tough guy. You want to play that role. Listen, you think, Tony, when I gave guys dirty shots and I got challenged, I said, nah, I'm fighting tonight. Nah. I know it's a different day and age, but Tony, when you're a tough guy and you do that, it's bullshit.
I hear you.
Tony.
Yeah.
Tony, you're talking to a guy that threw pucks at another guy in a penalty box in Montreal, him and Paul Baxter.
I know that.
They're throwing pucks at each other. Come on.
No, he didn't throw any at me. I threw one at him, and I finished him.
So, look, I'm going to say this, and I don't want to bring this back up because I'm sure it's probably something that if Nux could take back, he probably would. But since we're talking about some of these things here, I'll bring it up. When he knocked out Middleton's teeth, if they would have had a Chris Nilan in the lineup and would have done something like that to a Washington Capital player, I mean, that sounds like I'm advocating violence here, but it could have turned the series around a little bit, I think. It could have turned the series around a little bit. Like a lot of Canadiens fans were upset that the Capitals were going around hitting everybody and some hits were borderline. The Canadiens could have done it too. They just didn't have that kind of nastiness that Washington had, I don't think.
Yeah, and sometimes you got to waste one. You know, I'm sure Arber was thinking he'd want to do that, but where's he going to end up if he wastes one and it goes against him and next thing they score a goal and then he's back in the stands. Then he's even more screwed up.
Yeah. Pierre, I obviously don't want to have this debate with Knuckles because it'll be over in 10 seconds. It'll be me for sure because of, he played the role and he knows him better than anybody else. But the whole Tom Wilson thing, I hear what he's saying, but that guy was just so damn efficient every time he was on the ice. He was probably saying, and his coach was probably telling him, I don't want you to go to the penalty box because you're such a difference maker on the ice. Like the Canadiens couldn't contain them, guys. They just couldn't,
No, there are very few power forwards in the league like him right now. There are very few. Brady Tkachuk is one of them.
Yeah.
Maybe Svechnikov down in Carolina, but he doesn't have the same physical dimension. I did the game when Ovechkin knocked him out cold. One punch right in the face. Knocked him right out.
What, did he ever?
I was doing a game. He was 25 feet from me. And Chris knows there's a certain noise that you hear at ice level when a guy makes contact. That was the noise. And you don't hear it all every night, but that night you heard it.
I think every Canadiens fan that was watching this series attentively can now understand why people brought up Tom Wilson's name for Canada at the Four Nations face-off as a candidate, right?
A few of us did at the beginning. Not too many, though. Not too many. A few did.
Do we have Paul? Paul, are you there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Yeah. Final thoughts?
Final thoughts? Am I talking to Tony right now?
Yes, you are.
Hey, hello, gentlemen. Pleasure to be with you tonight. You sort of segued into what I wanted to say.
Okay, so if I can just do it with Chris and Pierre, I'll be back in a second, okay? Go ahead. Go ahead.
We'll take your bathroom break.
That's it.
Go ahead, Paul.
What I wanted to get at is I love the fact the talent that we have, the contracts we're signing, but where do we get our playoff grit? I mean, to me, this team's going to be easy to attack in the future in the playoffs. Pressure Caulfield, pressure Hudson, pressure the small guys just like Washington did. So how do we turn that around? Because I honestly believe both Jack guys will not be on this team down the road if Martin St. Louis is the coach.
I don't know that, but I can tell you, I look at Washington Capitals. Chris made a really good point before. Look at all the different players they brought in. Beauvillier's from a different city. Dubois from a different city. Mangiapane's from a different city. Ryan Leonard's a draft pick. Duhaine's from a different city. Nick Dowd was drafted by L.A. You know, Chikrin's not from Washington. This is his third team now. Sandin's from Toronto. Roy's not from Washington. Trevor Van Riemsdyk wasn't from Washington. I mean, you can change your team. You just have to decide if you want to or not.
So Hughes has got a lot of work to do.
I don't know about a lot. I think they've done a lot of good work. They need to add certain things. They need a number 2 center. I think we all agree on that. And they could use some more sandpaper. There's no question they could.
Yep.
You still there?
Yeah, I'm still with you.
All right. Thanks so much for the phone call. We appreciate it. Guys, okay. It's not going to end here for us because, as you know, one of the things that makes the Sick Podcast a little bit different is that we go all the time. We go 12 months a year. I don't know if that's still going to be the plan this summer. Agnello and I will discuss it. But for sure, one thing I can tell you for sure is that we're going to go all the way up until maybe the first week of unrestricted free agency for sure. As a matter of fact, we're planning on being at the NHL draft in late June in Los Angeles. And of course, over the next couple of weeks here, we'll continue to talk about the Montreal Canadiens. We'll continue to talk about the Laval Rocket. There's going to be a post-mortem, and we're going to give our thoughts on that. And maybe we might be able to line up an interview between now and then. So on that note, guys, we will be back. Chris Nilan, thank you very much for doing this. Very much appreciated, my man.
You're welcome,
Thank
Tony.
you. And we look forward to your one-man show with 4 of them at Maison Principale, 2 at the end of May, if I'm not mistaken, and 2 in early June. Correct, Chris?
The 28th of May is the opening night, sold out. The 30th is getting there, and then June 3rd and 5th.
Where can people get their tickets, Chris?
You can get them at Tony, you suck.
Maison Principale, obviously.
Maison Principale, and you can call Sue Dabrowski at Lorenzetti Foundation.
Fantastic stuff, Nux. And once again, for those who are unaware, it's Chris is going to be telling his life story. And if you want the number for Maison Principale, it's 514-424-4430. You can give them a call. And all 4 shows are going to be there at the very, very beautiful Maison Principale. That is Chris's life story. 4 shows at Maison Principale, 2 at the end of May, 2 in early June. The first one is sold out. The second one is almost there. And I'm sure when all is said and done, the 3rd and the 4th will be sold out as well. Pierre, thank you very much for doing this. We appreciate it. It was a great year with the McGuire Report. And I know our collaborations will continue, Pierre, hopefully for years to come.
Oh, yeah, that's the plan.
All right. Thank you,
I want
Pierre.
to see Chris Nilan. I want to go see Chris's show, but I'm busy doing all this playoff stuff, but I want to come see your show.
I'd love you to come up. That'd be awesome. I'd love to see you up there.
Yeah, right. By the way, I was in your old stomping grounds yesterday for Ray Shiro's Celebration of Life, and I was thinking of you. We were up at a place called Granite Links.
Oh, yeah.
It was overlooking, and I was thinking of you, and I think you're pretty familiar with that neck of the woods.
All my kids and grandkids were there for Easter, actually.
There you go.
And Pierre, we've been thinking about you, too, because during Ray's passing, you worked the entire time. And I don't know if everyone knows this, but we're talking about probably one of your best friends in the whole world, huh?
Yeah, we were very, very close. We were very close. So yesterday was a hard day. I'm not going to pretend. It was a really hard day yesterday. Yeah.
Thank you, Pierre.
Take care. Good to see you.
Hey,
Tony.
really good seeing you, Chris. Take care, man. Thank you, Tony.
There you have it. I'm going to stick around if we can here. Hey, Sammy and Daniello, if you want me to take another call or 2, I definitely will. You tell me, do I have any other calls? I could definitely take them. If not, we can continue to do this the rest of the week. But Montreal Canadiens fans, we have some pretty good numbers watching, huh? How many do we have? We had about close to 2,000 on YouTube. It would have been a lot bigger number if the Montreal Canadiens would have won. A lot of people stopped me And we had 6,000 watching at the same time, as a matter of fact, on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. A lot of people stop me and they're like, you must love doing podcasts and radio when the Canadiens are bad and they lose. And I say, no, because yes, it's an opportunity for one rant, but so many people tune in and watch when the Canadiens actually win compared to when they lose. So many more. And we had 6,000 tonight. If the Canadiens would have won this game tonight, I bet you the number probably would have been 12,000. I'll take 3 questions, and then we'll wrap it up. Amin says, if Monty was a net, do we have a game 6? I don't know that, because I don't think Montembeault is the reason why the Canadiens lost tonight. Honestly, I don't. As a matter of fact, I actually think I was going to say I don't think Dobish is the reason why the Canadiens lost this game tonight. As a matter of fact, I think Dobish is the reason why they were only down 3-1 with a couple of minutes left in the game. It could have been worse. So I don't think Montembeault would have changed this series. I think ultimately the best player in this series, though, was Logan Thompson. And the Canadiens couldn't just beat him with enough regularity for 3 out of 4 games in this series. Think about what they did. They scored 2 goals in game 1. They scored 1 goal in game 2. And they scored 1 goal in game 2 goals in game. So once again, 2 goals in game 1, 1 goal in game 2. In game 4, they lit them up in game 3, but in game 4, lit up the Washington goalies. In game 4, they scored 2 goals, and tonight they scored 1 goal. So in their 4 losses, the Montreal Canadiens scored 6 goals. That's an average of 1.5 goals per game in the 4 games that they lost. Michel Therrien once upon a time said, to give yourself a chance to win a hockey game, you need to score at least 3. In their 4 losses, the Canadiens scored 6 goals. It's not enough. It's not enough. Dobish, not the reason why they lost this series, folks. If that's what you're thinking, get it out of your head. It's not true. Next. Robert says, is Doc a part of this team next year? Well, if they decide to trade him, what's his value? 0. So probably, because why would they trade him if his value is 0 and he's got 1 year left on his deal? I mean, what they're probably going to do is they're probably going to play him and hope that he can get his value up. And if he's helping the team, he stays. And if he's no longer going to be in the plans, well, then they'll probably try and move him. But by that time, they're probably going to try and get his value up as much as possible, because his value is not high right now. It's not. Next year, he'll be entering year 4 of a 4-year contract, which pays him $3.362 million per year. Next, final question. Jacob Perez, will the Canadiens send Demidov to the AHL for the playoff run, a chance to get more hockey in and develop chemistry with future teammates? No, I'll tell you who's going to end up playing with the Laval Rocket is going to be Oliver Kapanen. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Very, very much appreciated. And we'll be back tomorrow night, same time, same place. You can expect the podcast, I will tell you this, to change. Tonight was an hour and 18 minutes. And, they're obviously, with the Canadiens out, they're going to last, much less. But you're going to continue to get quality programming. I can guarantee you we'll be on top of every Montreal Canadiens story and news right here on the Sick Podcast. Canadiens give it their best, but they lose by a score of 4-1 and lose the series 4-1 to a better Washington Capitals team who deserves to move on. It was a season of learning and growth, and the Canadiens are going to be better for it. Thanks for watching. We'll be back tomorrow.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. The Sick Podcast is brought to you by Energy Transportation Group, driven to be different. LaBita.tb, embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination.